Continuing with the toe-up socks, I've completed the heel flap portion, and I've knitted a little over 16 rows. I've tried it on because I wanted to make sure that this flap went all the way across the bottom of my heel to just about half an inch before the end of my heel without stretching it. So to continue, so I can do the heel turn now, I need to have 11 stitches in the center and an even amount of stitches on the left and right. And because I have 31 stitches, I will have 10 stitches on the right, 10 stitches on the left, and 11 in the middle. And I'll place markers in those locations now. And to show what it looks like when I'm done, it's still a basic heel turn, but I've noticed that instead of getting that severe point that is normally shown, it's just kind of tapered off, just kind of rounded off, which is different. And I do notice using this method, it's a little bit more bulgy on this side compared to being nice and flat and even. This is the slip knit side. I think that's doing that, but that's okay. It's going on a foot, so you'll never see it as long as it works. Once I finished this one, I put it on a spare needle so that I can work on the second one because I'm on one giant magic loop. So let me go ahead and put my markers on. 2, 2, 4, 1. One. Come on, stitch marker. There we go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 1 marker. Okay, so 10 stitches on left and right, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, and 11. So what I'll do is I'm on the right side. I'm going to slip the first stitch knitwise, knit, slip as if to purl, knit, slip as if to purl, continuing. Slide the marker over. That was a knit, slip, knit, slip, knit. Slip to the second marker. So I did the slip as if to knit on the first stitch, knit, slip as if to purl, and then knit, slip as if to purl all the way to the second marker. I don't need the second marker anymore because what I'm going to do is do a standard slip, slip, knit, or actually I could do what I've done in the past, which is slip, slip as if to purl, and knit through the back loop, or I could knit through the front loop. There's various ways of doing it, but I'll stick to the standard old school slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, and knit through the back loop, knit one more stitch, and hopefully my hand stayed somewhat in the camera that whole time. Now I'm going to turn and slip the first stitch and purl to the next, or to the last remaining marker. Okay, I won't need this one. Now I'm going to purl 2 stitches together, purl 1 more stitch, and turn. And I'm going to do the standard short row method moving forward, meaning slip the first stitch, knit, slip, knit, slip, I end up on a knit stitch versus a slip stitch doing this when I stay in pattern. So it's just preference if you just want to knit the whole thing, but I'm staying in pattern, so it is what it is. I'm going to slip knit at this gap that was created, knit 1 more stitch, and turn. Trying not to get my yarn tied up in my bag. And that could be why this one is a bit bulky, because I'm doing the in pattern knit slip versus just knitting across. That bulkiness that I showed in the beginning on that left side. So I'm going to continue with the short row, slip the first stitch and purl to the gap. And if it's hard to see the gap, always leave the markers in, but I'm used to it now, so I can tell where the gap is. That, and I can feel it with my thumb. I can feel the spacing right there compared to every other stitch that I just went through. So here's the gap. I'm going to close it off by purling it together, purl 1 more, turn back to the front, and keep going. Slip, knit. I can feel the gap over here. A knit, slip, knit, and there's that gap, slip, slip, knit, knit 1 more, and I'm going to keep doing this until I complete the entire row. And I will say, when I finish it, I will be ending the row with a slip slip knit on the right side and a purl 2 together on the purl side. without having that extra knit stitch and purl stitch. It just, the way this particular toe is working out, flip this thing around, I end up with no extra stitch at the end. It's just once I get to these two last stitches and the gap is created, I'm just closing off the gap. And I'm not being picky. I mean, it's going on a foot, so it's no big deal to me. This is the gap that I was talking about. There's nothing extra after. So to close this gap, I'm just going to slip, slip, knit, and then be done with the knit side. I'm catching yarn, it's splitting. Let me fix that. There we go. Last two, and there's that gap again, so I want to make sure it's closed off. Purl them together. That one is a lot smoother. So maybe it's just however I did a slip, slip, knit on this side. I just got kind of bulky, but that's what it looks like with this new toe up method that I'm doing. It's just very subtle compared to something like this where that heel turn is very basically blunt and in your face. You know it's a heel turn. You can't miss that triangle compared to the softness of this one. So to get this back on one cord, so to speak, I'm going to slide these back over. Actually, you know what? I won't do that. I'll do these separately. That way I can do the gusset, because I do like doing the heel flap and gussets on separate needles compared to all on one magic loop. It just makes life a little easier. So I'm going to keep these separate and work on them and go all the way up until everything reconnects. That way I can just continue to knit. The gusset is no different. I'll put my blue yarn back on and knit across and then start the gusset, inserting my crochet hook in and out like I've done in previous reminder videos for myself, and just keep reducing until I get all the way back down to a full 64 stitch count all the way around is what I want. And then I'll do the same thing for this one and put everything back on one giant magic loop.